guys, so for our group, we decided to choose the chronic condition of cerebral palsy. So we are just going to go through today some exercises that we have come up with that would be good for a training program for someone with CP.
So just before we start with the actual exercises, we're just going to go over some quick goals. Some primary goals with people with cerebral palsy would be to increase their range of motion, strengthen their weaker side, improve their balance, and to work on their gait and posture.
So a general warm-up or cardio component for someone with CP, we suggested that the bike, specifically a stationary bike, so it can work on their posture and force them to go through a full range of motion with their legs. There's often bikes that have their legs kind of strapped in so that if they don't have the ability to keep them upright in the bike, that will help them. And then also maybe an arm ergometer if they don't have the ability for their lower legs to do that, so that will still get them warmed up and get some cardio going. And then as well as using heating pads and stretching with the warm-up if they are sore, and to get them stretched out so that they don't get any injuries during exercise.
Just some safety concerns, balance and fall, so just make sure that whatever you're doing, if they need to brace themselves on a wall or if they need to be seated instead, you don't want them to fall because that can be pretty detrimental to them. You may also need to use an AFO, so an ankle foot orthotic, or something for their hands so that they can grip onto the weight. If you do choose to do free weights or pulleys, just make sure they do have that grip strength. You don't want obviously dropping weights or letting go of the elastic bands. Another thing to consider is medication, so you want to know what kind of medication they're on, if they've taken it, how it will react, and if they've taken it before they worked out. Okay, we're just going to show you a couple upper body exercises right now. So we're going to use a resistance band. If you don't have anything to loop it on, you can just hold on to it. So we'll just add a little bit of resistance for her, and all she's going to do, keeping your elbows nice and tight, is just pull her elbows back. Good, using her upper back muscles. So this is really good for strengthening her upper back, which will fix her posture. It's also good for her triceps and her biceps.
So some things to keep in mind when you're doing this. You want to make sure that they are squeezing their shoulder blades together. You want to make sure that they are keeping that straight spine, good neutral posture. And with CP, another thing to consider would be their grip strength, along with impaired grip strength. So some might need some assistive aids when they are doing this.
So for this exercise, we're going to be doing tricep dips. This is a good exercise to really help with the triceps and the arm strength, as well as using a bit of the core as well. It can be done using these types of platforms, or you can also do it at home if you don't have the equipment. You can do it in a chair with arms pads as well. So she's just going to simply put her hands on each of the platforms right next to her. She's going to be pushing up using her arms, using a lot of the triceps to push herself up, and just slowly lower herself back down. To progress this exercise, you can simply just add more platforms to make it a higher surface for her, and then she'd have to use more of her arms to push herself up.
And some of the good things about this exercise is that because they are so close to the ground, there is low injury risk. And once you do raising platforms, you can always add mats if it does get too high. You don't want them hurting themselves when they fall. And this is also a good exercise for those who are lower body disabled, so they can work their upper body, they can get out of their chair. It'll help with their sit to stand actions. All right, so next we're going to move on to some lower body exercise. The first one we're going to show you is just a simple sit to stand. This is obviously huge. Keep going, it's fine. Oh my gosh. So this obviously has huge functional benefits. Sit to stand is something that they use in all their activities of daily living, and it's also going to work on their balance. So there's some things to keep in mind when they are doing this. You want to make sure that they are keeping good posture. You want to make sure it's controlled movement. You don't want them dropping back in their chair when they go back to sit down.
So some safety precautions is just making sure that you do have a spotter, and having a spotter on their weak side. So as we can see, Jazz will demonstrate her weak side.
Who's spotter?
Her weak side is this side. No, this is her strong side. So Mariah is on her weak side. She often goes towards the strong side to use that side, but we want to encourage her to use a little bit of both, get up in a straight manner, and then have that spotter on the weak side so that she does feel comfortable using that leg to get up. And also just taking into consideration if they are a lot heavier than you or do have very, very bad balance, to have maybe 2 spotters on them just so everyone feels more comfortable. You can also place your hand on their back if they do not have a belt, or you pull them up by their pants, or encourage them to wear a spotting belt so that you do have extra grab on them, so that if there is any issues that you are able to help them.
Okay, so our next exercise for lower body is kind of like a hip extension. It's a very functional movement, so we're going to be flexing at the hip and lifting the leg up. So this movement is used when you're walking, when you're going upstairs. So for CP patients, it's very functional and great for them to work on their strength. So you can put ankle weights on your ankles if you want to add resistance, or if that's too much and body weight is fine, you can do that as well. So for this, there's a couple progressions. So you can start with just having them sit in a chair, and they lift one leg up at a time. And then after this, if you want to work more kind of on working on that balance, you can have them stand up and use a chair or a table or something for support on their weak side. And they're doing the same movement with just one leg at a time, lifting up. And from there, if you still want to continue working on that coordination and balance, you can try having them do it freestanding without any base of support.
So safety considerations for this exercise would definitely be spotting and making sure that there's someone there. If they are holding onto the chair, you want to have the chair or the bar or the wall or whatever you're using on their weaker side, and you can always be on the other side just in case. If they are doing it without any other base of support, always spot on their weak side for them. And just ensuring that whenever they're doing it, that they're going nice and controlled and decreasing the chances of any fall.
This next exercise is for your core and for trunk rotation. So depending on your client, that's the object you would choose. If you know if they can hold on to something that's a little bit heavier, then you can use a medicine ball. If not, you may want to start with something lighter like an elephant ball, those ones that are softer. If they are softer, they can also work on their grip strength and they can squeeze while they're twisting. So if you just want to show us how it's done, she's going to twist and pass it to her trainer. And then what you would do is you would do, say 5 or 10 twisting one way, and then you'd switch and do the other side. So this is good, so it's way more functional for them because then they actually have to twist, which is things they have to do in real life. And they also have to maintain a good posture and keep their core nice and tight.
So the next core exercise that we're going to do is the bird dog. So you're going to start with having the patient on hands and knees. And for them, their coordination and balance, you're just going to do one limb at a time. So you're going to move the arm, one arm up at a time. And then after you do that, then just one leg out at a time. So this exercise is really good for like your back extensors, your core, but also for people with CP, this is a really good exercise on their balance. And then also coordination if you want to progress to having maybe one arm go out at the same time as one leg.
So safety precautions for this, mostly just ensuring that they are bracing, keeping a straight back, and having good posture throughout. People with CP often have very poor posture, so we're just ensuring that they keep the back straight and ensuring that there is mats on the ground so that if they do take a little fall, they're on a nice soft surface.
So next up we're going to show you guys some balance exercises, obviously because CP is a movement disorder, balance is a major issue for them. So for this one, we're just going to have the client, which is just seated on the ball, and we're just going to ask them to just keep their own balance. This would be a lot harder for people with CP because they do have spastic movements and stuff like that.
Okay, so balance is very important. We want to prevent falls, and it's helpful with ADL. So we want them to be able to get around without having to worry about losing their balance. So for this one, to start off, I would have her put her legs a little bit wider so she has a greater support, I guess, base of support. And then from here, all we will do is just push on the ball, and she has to maintain her balance. If we want to make this harder, we can have her move her feet a little bit closer, and then go from there. We can also have her take her hands off her knees and put them above her head. Good, and then go from there. So some safety concerns, obviously, with your patient, depending on where their balance is at. You don't want them to fall off the ball, so you have to be very careful. So you may need to support them. Make sure you have mats around, and just make sure that if they do have a weak side, that you maybe stay away from having them have to support themselves on that weak side. Or if you are going to, then that you're there to catch them and spot them. Okay, so this is just another balance and gait exercise. So you can set up a square, you can change the distance, just depends on your client, so you can make it smaller or bigger. We didn't have any pylons, so we decided to use some weights, but you can use whatever you need to for markers. So the first thing you're going to have your client do is just walk toe to heel in a straight line, forwards towards the first marker. When they reach that first marker, they're going to step sideways they meet the third marker, they're gonna go backwards, heel to toe. Awesome. And then when they get to the fourth marker, they're just gonna go sideways again. So if your client isn't able to do heel to toe, or if they need some more gait work, what you can do is set markers on the floor where they have to step, so they can practice actually walking with a normal gait. You also, if going backwards is too hard, you can change that and they can turn around and walk forwards.
So just some safety concerns to keep in mind. Obviously, some of them will have walkers or canes that they will need to use, and if they don't have one, you can always have a spotter who walks alongside on their weak side as a support. This will obviously help keep them from falling over.
So now we're just going to be doing some basic stretching and range of motion. So people with CP often have issues with spasticity and have very rigid muscles, so ensuring that they are keeping up with their range of motion and stretching regularly is important to help decrease the chance of spasticity, and helping just with overall functional movement so that they can continue to do regular activities. So here we have Jazz doing wrist and elbow extension. So we have Ali just sort of guiding it. We want our client or Jazz here to be the one that's actually doing the movement, but we do want someone that maybe have to guide the movement for her. And then we're going to have her do knee and hip flexion and extension, so just ensuring that she can keep her legs moving, keeping that range of motion together, and again having Ali guide it, but hoping that our client can somewhat move their legs on their own. Just some safety considerations is that a lot of people that are on CP are on medication that will possibly make their joints very lax, so knowing this is important so that we don't stretch them too much or go past a point of where they can stretch comfortably, so that make sure that we have to discuss it with the patient and that they are comfortable doing these movements.
So that's the end of our video. Just some things, I guess, take home notes to keep in mind. Range of motion is very important with CP clients. So you should be stretching, or they should be stretching at least 2 times a day. They do fatigue quite easily, so you can use stretching as a rest period. So instead of them just sitting there, you can go through range of motion activities with them.
And another thing to keep in mind is that everybody with CP is different. There's varying types and different stages. So just keep in mind that you will have to alter your program depending on what their abilities and limitations are.
And forget my part.
The main thing is just to be creative. So we showed you a couple exercises today, but there's definitely a lot more that you can do for different body parts. Usually try and think about functional movements and large muscle groups.